Right, okay, setting timer. Good afternoon, everybody. Episode 5. We're on 5, I think. 5.
4 or 5.
Well, it's either 4 or 5. You pick. Of Grey Matters, and this week we are going to talk about. Well, we were initially going to talk about disappointment. However, we decided not to because it would just be a moan fest, and we'd go, well, we hate everybody, and it'll all be done in 30 seconds. And it'll all be done in 30 seconds, and then there'll be like naming names. But we're going to talk about, was it anticipation of careers post further education,
and the yarns were spun.
Yes,
when we're young and naive.
Yes, and I think so. The reason why I brought it up, not necessarily brought it up, thought it would be a good thing to talk about at some point, because there's a son of a friend of mine who's just finished 3 years doing photography, got his degree, and unfortunately his degree show was over in the blink of an eye in Shoreditch, and I would like to have gone to see it, because I think it's always I went along to a student photography exhibition thinking I might find a photographer that's got a bit of flair and vision for portraiture. Tragically, I didn't. But and I've asked the question: is like, what happens after further education now? And I maintain that universities and the ilk don't, in the creative industry, don't prepare you for work or how to find work when you are most likely to go down a route of being self-employed. Because did you work in an office?
I think it's different in my field, because when you graduate, you are absolutely not qualified to be self-employed.
Right.
Because there is still so much to learn, and you can't learn how to run a business about all the legislation, because frankly, it's fucking boring when you're a student.
At Gloucester, it was Tuesday mornings. We had
professional practice.
We had 2 years of there were 3-hour sessions on the law of photography. When I left Gloucester, I knew more about the laws of pornography than I could shake a stick at, which I haven't really used. So we had all that, the actual legislation thing, but as I say, it was unlike.
But you listened, because we never listened, because it was so conceptual that it had no context, no relevance for us.
So was your course based on the technicality and the creativity?
It was a mix of the two.
It was a mix of the two, and then it's the learning curve afterwards, how to.
You need mentoring when you join practice. For sure.
It was completely the opposite when I left, and it left Gloucester, and it was inevitable that if you wanted to work in the field that I did, which was I kind of hoped I'd work in the fashion and beauty industry, which I did a little bit. I did with a couple of photographers, not all of them, but I did have a bigger range of experience with food photographers, which was nice, because you got to take food home afterwards.
I didn't think it was real.
No, there's a lot of it that isn't. There's a lot of it, but I've taken home a roast chicken, and I know you're not supposed to warm it up, but I did, and then I found out it was stuffed with cotton wool. It was cotton wool and newspaper to keep it shape. And then it occurred to me, like the glaze may not have been, may not be a glaze. So I got experience of doing things like that. But when we talked, saying like, they talk about it seems that networking is on the curriculum now.
It is now,
and that is something I really had so little understanding of.
I had no idea at all.
But
of course, bear in mind that we were pre-LinkedIn. We were
Oh,
pre-websites. It was, you had to find practice, for me, you know, interior design practices, architectural practices, through the architectural press.
Yeah.
It was the only way that you knew
Yes.
who existed.
Yes.
It wasn't all there on the end of your arm.
No, because I was not me personally, but Sandra Lasada was a mentor at Gloucester, and I think I got to know got introduced to her at the beginning of the second year, and she visited 2 or 3 times, and I just really liked her. She was quite bonkers. And I'd say it now, and so on record, and I'm saying it. I really did think she was the inspiration for Adina Monsoon in her fab. However, that's Lynn Franks. But there's so much that Sandra was like her. But anyway, so yeah, I got to know Sandra. I liked her, so I knew about her. I knew what she did, and I knew that she'd worked for Vogue at times, and that she'd produced a book, a portrait, which I have, which is called Private Pictures, and they're kind of not candid-y shots. They are stage shots, but they've got this I'd say an emotional integrity to them. So yeah, I knew about Sandra, but yeah, going to work, I got booked once by, he was an upcoming name, and I can't find anything about him now. A guy called James Wedge, and he was a hot name coming up, and I was booked as second assistant for a Hermesitas commercial advert editorial, and yeah, I knew nothing about him when I got there.
Well, you couldn't Google him.
No, it was a really, really tough day. I didn't enjoy it. I wasn't spoken to. I was second assistant, so I would have done very, very menial things. But yeah, it was one of the because I was freelance right from the word go, not through choice. Freelance, so I just took every opportunity that I got, and if you landed on somebody that was really good, it was great. So Rob Brimson to work with was fantastic, but it was just...
There's a lot of chance involved.
Yes.
I think if I hadn't... Someone came and saw my degree show who was based in Hampstead.
Yeah.
And he offered me a job.
Okay.
And that was like, I took it.
Yes.
I was the only interior designer, which was crap because there was no one to learn from.
Yeah.
And he was actually a graphic designer. So I spent a year designing amusement arcades, not having a clue what I was doing.
Okay.
I was completely out of my depth, but it gave me, at least I was in London.
Yes.
And it gave me a chance to learn more through Chartered Society of Designers.
Yeah, and also you're building up a portfolio, because a portfolio of actual work.
Yeah.
It has. I joke about my own portfolio. It's something that I worked 3 years for, and I even made a special case for it. It was purple. The people that looked at it in my lifetime, well, it's 44 years since I've left. 5 people, and I'm one of them.
Yeah, but there was a big day when I ditched my college work. I've outgrown it.
Yes.
I'm proud of it, but I have absolutely outgrown
it.
But it was the move to London that meant that I was actually I got to know more practices, and after a year I got my second job, and that was in a really good retail practice. Yeah. So that was me on my way.
Year 2 of me being in London was I can't believe it. It was just crazy. I was constantly worried about money because I'd get to something like a Friday night, and I'd maybe got 2 days booked, and it was a ridiculous thing that I was making decisions over which zone which cards you would. Was I going to be going to? Because Sandra was in Ladbroke Grove, and that was zone 1 or 2 or something like that. No, I was in East Finchley, and it was like, wait a minute,
out in the middle of nowhere.
And I made a sort of mental thing that I really didn't want to work south of the river.
Well, one does one.
One doesn't. But there was more. There was nothing in the. There was absolutely no. I never ever got any work in the East End, and it's funny now.
Oh, but that's where everything is now.
That's where everything is
Yeah,
now. I've done
yeah.
so many more,
Yeah.
so much more things. The concentration of photographers that I worked for was West London, and it was I used to work for a catalogue photographer in Fulham, and he bought this house. It was when Fulham was a little bit kind of not as cool as it was, and he bought this 3-storied house, and the top 2 floors were a studio. And I do remember doing. I think I've told you about one of the models. It was swimwear. It wasn't for Grattan because they used to use Woburn Studios, and I've worked at Woburn Studios, and I spent 3 days ironing silk nightwear for. I never touched a camera or piece of camera equipment for 3 days. I just spent all the time. These like negligee. Well, no, not all of them. There's
But when you
a lot of satin.
you have to do. I spent weeks designing or detailing toilets. You know, and at one job I actually did all the railings around a car park.
Okay.
I was working in architectural practice.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just do.
Yes, and I'm going to say at the time I was thinking, why aren't I? Because I was striving to get full-time work with a fashion photographer. So there was people that I liked, but it was at the time when it was a bit here and a bit there. Because I did do a day with the photographer Robin Bache, and she did a lot of the classic like Toya pictures, and the very new romantic, which is the makeup on them was just absolutely brilliant. But it was just kind of one day here, there, and everywhere. So that's what I was striving for, and so I was glad for any work, and I did whatever that was thrown at me, and I did end up.
But I think we did.
Yes.
We didn't go into it, and because I have taught at degree level and at MA
Yeah,
level,
you saying it, yeah.
and there is a different attitude now.
Yeah.
We would have gone anywhere and done anything,
Yeah.
and we were just grateful.
Yes.
I think there's a different attitude now.
I was grateful when there was a lunch provided.
Yeah, the kids are much more demanding than we ever
Yeah,
were.
expectation of.
And I think they've got an inflated sense of their abilities, to be fair, because they are paying for their education, and so there's not the gratitude that we had, but we were learning rather than
Yes.
teach me.
Yeah.
And that's offensive.
Wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't.
Generationalist or something. But
We had it. Yes. I would say the culture that we were in at the time, which was through the early to mid 70s, there was this first time that we'd heard of people like mass redundancies, and then it was. I think it was the first time that unemployment hit 2 million or 3 million or something like that. It was just 3 day. Oh my goodness, 3-day week. That was
blackouts.
Yes. And then heat wave in '76, and
which was pretty amazing.
no, I was failing my GCSEs during that period.
Because you're only young, aren't you?
Because I'm 65. I think it's about 5 weeks, and I think I would have been the absolute youngest in my class at Queen Elizabeth Grammar School. So some of those other ones that got like 8 O levels, you had about a year extra learning than I did. So the culture where I genuinely didn't think I had a hope of getting a job. After I just saw
you
it.
just grab at the first
So
one.
I did, I grabbed. But then some of the crazy experiences, I did end up in a really big studio underneath Africa House in Holborn, which is the bank. and then it used to go down two sub levels, and some of the space downstairs was let out, so you got this completely blackened studio. There was about 2 or 3 different photographers in there, and I was working with this guy called David Boddy, who was a really, really good food photographer. We were creating this enormous cornucopia of fruit, and this stuff never stopped arriving, and it was I mean, I'm not a great fruit lover, but there was just tons of it, and we were working away during the daytime. And then as I was going out, there was, I think one of the floors had all been closed off. The floor above had been closed off because I didn't know, but there was an armoury.
Right.
And it had been held up at gunpoint,
Oh, wow.
and there would been like a shootout upstairs. I think we had the music on a little bit. So
Yeah.
it was kind of a bit mad. And then I worked with Rob Brimson, and he had a studio in Charterhouse Square.
Right.
And then the studio above him was Richard O'Brien, and I'd seen the Rocky Horror Show like a couple of years before, and then to see him bringing his chopper. He used to have a chopper.
Oh, wow.
He used to ride a chopper around. What's that? I never really engaged him in conversation, but it was that was kind of and I did some mad things with. Well, Rob used to work for Hypnosis, and through that, the biggest thing that I did with him was the original photography that ended up being used as artwork for the Scorpions Blackout album. I did get to meet one of my.
None of these stories.
Okay.
I worked. The second job I had, I was their first employee, and it was a lovely sort of family.
Were you in at YTS?
I had an MA.
Yeah, in that day and age, you could have had it. You would have YTS if they could have got you away with it.
Yeah, but they were lovely, and we did retail. So we did Selfridges, Miss Selfridge, Expressions, Dulcis, Wallace.
Okay,
Olympus
big
Sports,
high street names at the time.
Marks and Spencers. Worked with all of them, so it was really good.
Okay.
It was good experience.
Hermesitas was an advert, commercial. And then I did get to work. The models, and it was for Body Form.
Okay.
And there was a whole. I think there was like 3 or 4 different setups, but one setup I do remember was with Hot Gossip, and we were in this little tiny.
In their pants as usual.
Well, yes, I look on reflection. It wasn't the day that I thought it would be. They had to build themselves into a human pyramid. In this little, it was quite a small studio, and there was like a whole lot of hairspray in the atmosphere, a lot of crimping going on, and a lot of eyeliner and things like that. And that was. But there was that, and there was another Hermes. No, that was Body Form one. I can't. It was in Pineapple Dance Studios. Yes.
Covent Garden.
Yes. And we were talking about going to Flip.
Yes.
Flip.
Yeah. Oh, happy days.
Happy days. Going browsing. I might have a story about somebody had found a hand-painted silk tie, and when they got it home, it was a very, very rare Salvador Dali one. So that was the reason why I used to rummage through tie things.
Knew what you'd find.
You never know. But that was quite a fun thing. Because AFAP, who sponsored me for a while, their offices were in Covent Garden. So
was this presumably went before Covent Garden became Covent Garden? Because I worked there when I was still a student, and it was not built the way it is now.
There were shops, but there were a lot more kind of indie, groovy ones. And
that central thing, it just didn't exist.
I'm not sure. I don't think I would have ever.
A few years later.
Yeah,
so
I do remember one time going down.
Loads of Barrows when I was there, because it was the fruit market, wasn't it? It was the veg market.
Yes. Yeah, well, I remember back in there, sitting outside the Opera House. I think probably having a sandwich, something like that. And then there was a black opera. Well, we just thought the people that were just sitting around, we just thought she was a bit kind of vagranty because she got like a shawl on and whatever. And then she started singing, but she was doing a kind of opera spoken word version of Peter and the Wolf. It was absolute. There was things like that, and there was quite a few street performers at the time. So anyway, we've been reminded we've got no time left. So conclusion.
Should we talk about disappointment?
Yes, put your votes in,
Candid.
and you're going to say a personal thank you.
Names.
I'm going to mention Andrea, that came to the studio last night with Phil, who said she's listened to us, so you're getting a special mention. So this is a valuable thing to talk. No apologies. Apologise, me.
Never apologise.
Never apologise, and never have any regrets ever.
With you.
Yeah. Okay. Catch you later, folks.